Go away, quick! Over there, shoot!
Amid rolling hills and endless stretches of forest, a large-scale wild boar control operation is underway. There are no grandstands, no cheering crowds, only clearly marked zones and the pressure weighing on every participant. Each position carries its own responsibility, and every decision leaves no room for error. Out here, results don't come from luck, but from thorough preparation, precise calculation, and the ability to stay calm in the most critical moments. The first hunter stepped into the forest, where visibility narrowed and every sound seemed to carry extra weight. He paused for a moment, double-checking his gear and loading his rifle slowly and deliberately, a familiar ritual before pushing deeper in. Beneath the dense canopy, worn trails pressed into the mud told stories of quiet movements from days before. In this seemingly still world, even the faintest noise could signal something close, so close that every decision from here on carried an unpredictable pressure. Reaching his lookout point, he spotted a line of wild boars threading their way through the same well-worn paths, and for a few brief seconds, time itself seemed to slow. The shot cracked through the air, one thunderous report shattering the forest's silence, marking a moment of action that could no longer wait. The shots that followed were just as impressive, each one clean and controlled as the massive boars dropped one after another. Now, let's take a look at some of his most striking shots of the day. A perfectly executed shot. The wild boar was still startled and unsure of what was happening just moments before it went down. You know, in just a few hours today, he managed to bring down 10 massive wild boars. With 20 years of experience and skill that sharp, he's earned the title of a true marksman, don't you think? After securing his quarry, he quickly packed up, hauled the boar onto the truck, and headed back. When night fell, the atmosphere shifted. A fire was lit, its glow revealing tired but calm faces. Out in the open, the wild boars were arranged neatly in a circle, not for display, but as a ritual closing out the day's work. It was a moment of gathering, where the stories of the day were told around the fire, and everyone understood the weight of what had just taken place. In the flicker of the flames, surrounded by darkness, the journey through the forest came to a quiet, solemn, and reflective end. Let's take a look at a few more of his standout moments, shall we? Boom! Just one shot, and the wild boar dropped on the spot. That's the precision you'd expect from a marksman with 20 years of experience. And just like that, the first team's day came to a successful close, a meaningful hunt with a deeper purpose of protecting nature from the impact of wild boars. The photos, the meal, and the memories made along the way. Pretty unforgettable, wouldn't you say? Deep in the dense forest, the second hunter was just as active and determined. The rugged, mountainous terrain, perfect for wild boars to hide, still wasn't enough to challenge his skill. All right then, let's jump right in and watch his impressive performance. A dark figure flashed by, and instantly the shot was fired. Boom! It couldn't have been more precise, and the wild boar was stopped cleanly in its tracks. Shot after shot followed. You know, in terrain this rugged and mountainous, there are times when a hunter might wait for hours just to get a single opportunity. That's why every shot is a precious moment they can't afford to miss. They understand the importance of working together to control the wild boar population and help protect people's livelihoods. These animals have destroyed land, damaged crops, and caused families to lose thousands of dollars. So the hunter's determination is always at its highest. He had been standing there for a long time, waiting. Then the wild boar burst out. Boom! A precise shot, leaving it with no chance to escape. The next day, the third hunter moved into the neighboring forest, expanding the control zone. The terrain grew tighter, visibility more limited, forcing every step to be carefully calculated. It wasn't long before a group of wild boars appeared, moving in a line along their familiar trail. His response was quick and decisive. A series of well-practiced motions followed one after another, and within moments, the situation was fully under control. When the forest settled back into silence, the hunter lined the boars up neatly in a long, straight row, not as a display, but as a marker, a way to close out another chapter of the journey. We move on to the next hunting team, heading into the saltwater marsh, the perfect habitat for those massive wild boars. From above, we spot our first target. It barely gets a chance to bolt before the pack of hounds swarms it. No matter how hard it tries to escape, it's no match for those dogs, highly trained specifically for boar hunting. A lone wild boar got spotted. One of the dogs chased it down until it was completely exhausted. And boom! A perfect shot finished the job. A bit of a shame, though. Another one managed to slip away. Another wild boar was spotted. It had been chased and shot at for hours and was completely drained. Tough as it was, after a barrage of shots, the boar finally collapsed under the hunter's rifle. The strength of a wild boar is no joke. It can dig and tear up the ground, ruin fields, and wreak havoc on crops. And as you can see, bringing one down is a whole process in itself. In the late afternoon, the hunter moved across the open meadow, a place where wild boars often take advantage of the hour to slip in and damage the crops. He took cover behind a patch of dry brush, keeping his distance while watching every subtle movement across the wide, open space. The quiet stretched on until, from the edge of the thicket, a wild herd suddenly emerged and rushed toward the fields. His response was immediate and controlled. With calm, practiced precision, he handled the situation and brought everything back under control before the threat could spread. Thanks to the work done on the land behind him, another peaceful night was secured for the fields and the people who live here. The hunters were already in position, prepared to take on the nocturnal wild boars causing trouble tonight. No hesitation, they moved straight into their strategy. Through the thermal cameras, the boars stood out clearly against the darkness. Swift, precise actions followed one after another, bringing the situation under control as the animals dropped out of sight. You know, in a single night, wild boars can tear through thousands of acres of farmland, destroying crops without restraint. They've become one of the biggest fears farmers face. That's why these nighttime hunters work quietly in the dark, almost like unsung heroes. They bring peace of mind to the community and help restore balance to the land. Truly, they're people worth recognizing. Don't you think? Shots cracked through the cold night, sharp and controlled, each one showing skill and precision. The wild boars scattered in all directions, their sudden movements blending with the darkness to create a dramatic, almost cinematic scene. Hunting isn't about proving anything. It's about restoring peace to the land. That's why these hunters deserve respect. They're out there, working to keep a corner of the world safe and steady. As everything gradually returned to calm, the day's journey came to a quiet close. Nothing that happened was about seeking glory. It was the result of preparation, discipline, and a sense of responsibility. Out here on the front lines, these people keep doing their work, quietly and steadfastly, to protect the land, the crops, and the fragile balance behind it all. If you'd like to follow more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to Fargo Farm US. and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next journey from the front lines of rural life and nature.